Was a girl running in a group. She had a high-speed motor in a 40 Ford coupe. She had a racing cam and a supercharged. Look at Buddy, hot rod and large. She's a hot rod. She's a hot rod.
I have just a potload of things that are going on around the car world that you need to know about. And they're interesting to a point. But before that, I want to make sure that I tell all my listeners, I hope you guys are all well. I hope nobody's sick. I hope nobody you know is sick. I like that to be really the case. I'd like everybody to be healthy right now. And if you stay away, like you're supposed to, 6 feet apart and all this other stuff, it works. So far, they haven't got a cure for it. So until they come up with a cure for this thing, you're going to have to be careful, or a vaccine. But you can go out and have a dinner. You can go out and get your dinner. You can pick up stuff at the local restaurants. I personally have been to Blue Top, half a dozen times already, because it's just, that's my eatery anyway. I have to have my Big Ben burger.
I was just going to tell you, when don't you go to Blue Top?
I know. I have to have my Big Ben fix. It's one of those things, And I Blue Top is the hot spot. They're in Highland on 41, just south of Ridge Road, right by the Veterans Memorial, just down the street, about 100 yards. That's the place you want to go. And the auto value stores are still cooking. My shop is still open, Unlimited Service Automotive. We're still trying to keep people on the road. We're doing emergencies only, okay, of course, because we're a skeleton crew, just myself and Ron the Wonder Man. My God, he's all by himself back there. He can hear him whistling and talking to himself. I think he's losing it, guys. But getting a lot of work out. We're getting a lot of people back on the road. We have sold, I got to tell you, and Eric and I were talking about this in the beta version, we have sold more batteries in the last couple weeks, and I'm pretty sure I got a couple good reasons for it. Number one, the weather has been up and down. We're getting cold nights, warm days, just a drastic change all the time. Borderline batteries, that might be affecting them. I'm not a battery pro. I can call the guy from Interstate or have him call the show one day from out in Texas, and he can tell us about it. But the other thing is, how many people are letting their car sit for like a week at a time? You got to remember to start it and drive it around the driveway, if nothing else. Run it for half an hour. All those little things that you have in your car, the newer cars especially, all those computers, and sometimes there's as many as 21 computers in your car that do things to run all the little devices you have and run your car. They have memory banks, and these memory banks have to have power. So there is a milliamp draw, small draw on that battery. And it can last for 3-4 days, or it can last for 2 weeks if it's a brand new battery. But if it's a 4-year-old or 5-year-old battery and you don't touch it for 5 days or 10 days, you got a problem. That battery's going to die on you. It's just, they got to be driven a little bit. Let them run a little bit. They got to run. If nothing else, back it in the driveway and out of the garage, let it run for half an hour. Sit and listen to some tunes, have a ball. Turn on the radio. It'd be fun. I get a case of beer and sit in the car in the driveway.
That's not a bad idea.
I can't get a DUI. Well, I'm just saying. We've sold a lot of batteries. A lot of people with emergencies getting towed in, and batteries are they're dropping like flies. Cause I am not sure if it's the weather or the usage factor, but one of the two is causing us to sell a lot of batteries, and that's pretty crazy, but it's happening. And only the cars that are breaking, most of the cars we do come off a tow truck right now because they can't go anymore. And people have to get where they're going. They deemed us essential as far as transportation. And we're open every day. There isn't much going on, and that's good. Matter of fact, we've been painting the showroom because we're running out of things to do, but we're open for the people that need us. And we get them done, and they're riding down the road. So, and you see them on the road. I know I do. There's some things going around the car world. 928 Car Guys, if you want to talk to us, give us a buzz. But there's some good and some bad. But this is kind of sad. The contract worker at the Borg Warner plant in South Carolina. Remember they had that tornado? Let's see. A contract worker died at the Borg Warner plant in Seneca, South Carolina, early last Monday when the tornado hit. Oh, yeah. A 77-year-old security guard was killed. 4 other employees that were at the plant at the time, they suffered minor injuries. But the plant, oh my God, there's a picture of it. That plant took a pounding. That tornado did a number on that factory, and a 77-year-old security guard died in that tornado. Well, this is all stuff we hear about all the time, and now it's all over the place, and it's affecting our car world. It really is. Ford, you know what? And they're all going to be crying the blues. All these car companies, you listen, they're going to be poor us, and it's going to be that way. Ford expects a $600 million first quarter pre-tax loss to the coronavirus. A loss of $600 million. So I don't think they're going to pay any taxes for the first quarter. I'll read you the report. It's not pretty. Ford Motor Company said on Monday it expects to post a pre-tax loss of $600 million for the first quarter as the coronavirus pandemic pummeled its operation, resulting in 21% drop in sales to vehicle sales to dealers versus the same quarter last year. That's 21% is a lot. That's a fifth. A fifth less cars are going out the door. Only this makes me mad, I got to tell you. Only joint ventures that Ford has in China, where the virus pandemic has been receding, are currently producing vehicles. All the other plants are shut down, but in China, they've reopened their economy. Okay, they're cooking again. Ford Motor Company statement. We continue to opportunistically assess all funding operations to further strengthen our balance sheet and increase liquidity to optimize our financial flexibility. Whoa, who's this guy? He must be somebody real important. Tim Stone, CFO Tim Stone, Chief Financial Officer. Oh, we also are identifying additional operating actions to enhance our cash position. They're doing everything they can to keep their head above water. Ford didn't take the bailout in 2009. That's the only car company that didn't, of the big three. So, but there's other good stuff going on. It's not all bad. Hyundai. Now, here's a Japanese car company that has been made to come back here to build their cars and put our people to work. And they have plants all over, but they have a plant in Detroit. Hyundai Motor Company, or Hyundai Motor America is called, has donated $100,000 and 10,000 coronavirus test kits to support drive-up testing in Detroit, part of the larger effort by this Korean automaker to support 21 U.S. drive-up sites with a $4 million grant from their headquarters. These tests, valued at $150,000, or is that $150 million? There's a lot of arrows there, a lot of commas, are on their way to Detroit and will be available in the coming days. So this was the 13th, so they're there now by now. I'll bet on it. Hyundai went through U.S. Representative Brenda Lawrence and Detroit Mayor Mike Dugan to channel the donation. But on April 8th, Hyundai Motor Company said it will give 3,000 workers at its Montgomery, Alabama plant the option of using vacation time to be compensated while the plant is closed. The automaker said Wednesday it is extending the closure of the plant till May 4. Also, Hyundai said Good Friday, which is this week, will be a paid holiday. So there's a company that's doing something. They're not crying. They're giving stuff. They're not giving stuff away, but they're donating to the cause. They're putting their people. They're trying to keep their people alive. They had to furlough them, but they're going to be off for 2. They can use their vacation time for the 2 weeks they're going to be off. It's not a bad deal. I mean, they're treating them right. They're treating them right. Not all the car companies are doing that. Trust me, I've got some stories here. The other thing I'm going to tell you about, we talked about, and this is something that Eric and I talked about over the break. When are they going to reopen these plants? When are we going to get everybody back to work on the factories and get these cars moving and get these things going so people got money again and people can buy cars and they're going to be cars that are made and available? And you wonder, how's this going to happen? It's going to happen. It's going to happen fast. I mean, it's going to be more than you know. But I think our government did the right thing. They left it up to the states to decide when to end their own lockdown. Certain states have a lot of versions of the coronavirus. Certain states have very few. Their lockdown has worked. And they're not as populous, of course, like Chicago, New York. That's bad news. California, bad news. It's easy to catch something there. My God, there's people bumping noses everywhere you go. It's just how it is. But the states that are available and have availability, and I got to tell you, I got a little story coming up here shortly. They're going to have a whole different ball game now during production work, and there's going to be a different protocol for safety and everything else, at least until there's a vaccine and a cure for this corona mess that we're in. But in the meantime, we'll have our car people working again. The economy will open up and boost again. It'll be good. It'll be very good. I think it's going to happen. It's going to happen sooner than you think. It depends on the state. It's up to the governor of each particular state to decide what they want to do. And they know best. Technically, they know best. I don't care if you like your governor or not. It doesn't matter. They know what's going on. They have the best people talking to them. They have the best advisors. They have people that know viruses. They have people that know people. They have people that know everything. And biting on their ears, telling them what to do. And they're going to get this right. We've handled it good so far. This whole lockdown thing, well, it's miserable. Just miserable, isn't it? But guess what? It's working. We're starting to see the curve, and certain places are not. There's certain hot spots throughout the country that are not going to be open for a while. Some of them may not open until there's a vaccine for this thing, because there's no way you're gonna let people out and around in those hot spots. That's just how it is. It's too crowded, way too crowded. Well, that's what's happening, and I'm hoping that everybody is actually living with the lockdown, but doing what they have to do, bare minimum, and stay well. I just want everybody to stay well. Everybody that's on my listener list and everybody that's not, I want you to stay well. Here's a little tidbit of that, what I was just talking to you about. A dozen Ford Motor Company workers are experimenting with wearable social distancing devices that could be deployed more widely once the company reopens its idle manufacturing plant. The small group of volunteers at a Ford factory in Plymouth, Michigan, are trying out wristbands that vibrate when employees come within 6 feet of each other, said Kelly Felker, a company spokesman. The aim is to keep workers from breaching the distance that health experts recommend to avoid spreading this deadly virus. Okay, that's kind of cool. A wristband. It comes too close to me, I'll tap you with my wristband, like a Dick Tracy watch or whatever. Commando Cody. Although I'm dating myself there. The social distancing wearable can be part of a broader array of new safety protocol, and we talked about this a minute ago, that Ford deploys as it resumes production as early as next month, after at least roughly a 6-week shutdown. 6-week shutdown stuff on any company. Tell me about it. I wouldn't be paying my bills, and I'll tell you right now. The automaker is also expected to subject all workers entering the facility to a thermal imaging scan to detect a fever. Great idea. And it will provide staff with masks and, in some cases, plastic face shields. This Joanne Felker says, or whatever her name was. The company is devising these measures along with the United Auto Workers are helping with this. I hope they're not going to get one of their buddy vendors to produce this stuff like they did. Never mind. Ford has been, I get off on the UAW and I get upset. Ford has been piloting the new safety procedures at factories where it is now producing ventilators, respirators to supply hospitals fighting the COVID-19 outbreak. These practices, which include requiring workers to complete a daily online survey of their health and those they're in contact with, are expected to be rolled out by the company's traditional automakers, the factories, as they reopen. Not a bad idea. You shouldn't have sick people. You shouldn't have to go to work with sick people. You shouldn't have a guy that's there that can give you the damn flu. That's wrong. That's just wrong. And if he's sick, he's sick. Take a day off. Go home. Stay home until you're well again. But if they're going to, the thermal imaging, find out what your temperature is. That's kind of cool. That's kind of high tech too, if you think about it. Wow, it's really high tech.
Something that we need at my job.
I know. I'm telling you, every job should have one. I know my parts store guy, he's got a lot of employees. He was talking about having the guys have to take their temperature in the morning and tell them what it is. And if it's high, you're not in. You're out of here.
Yeah, our limit is 100.3.
Yeah.
And if we have anything over that, then we have to go back to our cars, see if we cool down or whatnot. And if we don't, after the second time, then we get sent home.
There you go.
So that's the protocol for us.
Yeah, and I have one of those guns. I use it actually. My gun wouldn't do you because my gun does catalytic converters up to 1200 degrees, but it's an infrared gun, and I can test the catalytic converter that way to see if it's working correctly. I start at the beginning and end up. It should be hotter going out than it is coming in. That's because that's doing its job. That means the plutonium has arrived.
The plutonium.
Yeah, I know plutonium. It's not plutonium. It's not potassium either. Anyway, that was an old joke, believe me, from an old show. Plutonium. They make bombs out of that stuff. All right. Dealers are in a unique position to benefit from a certain loan program. All this is to help them. Companies across the country are resting some of their short-term worries on a new loan program that the U.S. SBA, and I heard this is running low on money already, that could keep their employees paid and businesses afloat during the economic public health crisis. That, guys, is one of the big problems that employers like myself have to worry about. Are these people going to come back? Or are they going to go somewhere else? Or are they going to like this unemployment and just stay there for a year? I got to have people. I got to have bodies. Eventually, we're going to get wide open and we're going to get busy again. And that's how it's going to work. So we'll see what happens. Forgivable loans up to $10 million are on top priority for dealers absorbing financial losses from shuttered showrooms and plunging vehicle sales because of the COVID pandemic. Lenders began processing applications less than 2 weeks ago. As of Friday, April 10th, nearly 570,000 loans have been approved, totaling more than $145 billion from more than 4,150 lending institutions. This is according to the report by the Small Business Administration. Ashley Bell, their spokesman, says the key is to find a lender that's willing to work with you, because it's a lower interest rate with the SBA, and a lot of the banks, they'd rather loan you some money at the big interest rate, and there'll be no forgiveness of those loans. Trust me, banks don't forgive. That just doesn't happen.